Yo, what's up, guys? This is Comrade64. How you guys are doing today? And I'm back with another video. And for this video today, I'm going to be talking about why it's time to pretty much let go of the Snyderverse. You know, letting that DC universe go and like focus on James Gunn's universe. Now, as you guys see, I am wearing a Flash t-shirt right here. I wasn't sure either to do this video or another video talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer and why that movie's terrible and bad. But I figured, how about I do this, because that'd be a quick video to do, something like that. So yeah, here I'm going to be talking about why I think it's definitely time we just kind of just move on from the Snyderverse. Now basically, I know there are a lot of diehard Snyder fans who miss the Snyderverse, the DCEU, and wish that that universe will just continue. But unfortunately, the harsh reality is we're gonna have to accept the fact that that universe is pretty much done and over with, unfortunately. Now, personally, I thought we still sort of continued that universe. Why? Mainly because the universe was already here, and then we have it already established. So why not just keep it going? Why reboot everything? Now, this was before James Gunn's reboot was set in place. Basically, I was just thinking to myself, I don't think it's necessary to reboot the whole DC universe. We already had the DC universe established already. Sure, even though it was a mess, but it's already here. So why don't we just go along with it and like rebooting everything would just kind of felt like it would just probably complicate things. But the reboot is now officially happening, and now there's pretty much nothing most of us can do about it. It sucks. We never got a Man of Steel sequel with Henry Cavill. I guess in a way we technically got that with Batman v Superman in a way. So I guess that's pretty much the closest thing. And it does suck that we never got to get that Superman versus Black Adam movie, having Henry Cavill Superman duke it out with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Black Adam. That would have been sick to see. And that mid-credit scene, I guess it's kind of pointless now. And another thing, there are a few things why it kind of sucks that we're never going to see the Snyderverse ever again, because there are probably some storylines that were probably never concluded, and there are some things that we'll probably never get to see. Like one thing, for example, is a dark side. Unfortunately, it sucks that the dark side from the Snyderverse we saw like at the end of the Snyder Cut. It sucks that we'll never get to see him in action. We'll never see him face off against Henry Cavill Superman, Ben Affleck's Batman, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, and other, and some of the other DCU characters. It is kind of a bummer, and it sucks. It sucks that we're never going to see that version, that interpretation of Darkseid in action. See him face off against the League and such. It is kind of a bummer, but I guess it is what it is. Or maybe they could still bring that version of Darkseid back into like James Gunn's DC universe. Maybe, we don't know. I highly doubt it. I think they'll probably go with a totally different new dark version of Darkseid. But I guess this reboot is kind of a good thing in a way for DC in a way, because the DCEU, the Snyderverse, as much as it does have its diehard fans, we have to admit that universe was pretty much kind of in shambles all around. That universe was kind of a mess. It had, because number one, they had no leader, they had no direction. They pretty much wanted to play catch up with Marvel, and they pretty much just wanted to like do what Marvel was doing. Instead of just mapping out their universe, like giving each character their own movies first, they wanted to go ahead and straight up have a Justice League movie, because when they saw how much money the Avengers made back in 2012, they were like, oh man, we gotta get some of that pie. So instead of just taking their time and just doing stuff like like mapping everything out, have like some kind of creative story, something like that, tying in together. They just rush things together, you know. You know, they introduced Wonder Woman in Batman v Superman, which, to be honest, I don't think was really necessary. Even though I guess maybe probably did help lead into her film, show people her film, get people wanting to see her film. But Batman v Superman didn't do well. I think the director's cut is better though. And you know, Justice League were introduced to Aquaman, The Flash, and Cyborg, and not many people knew who they were. Not those versions, you know. And then Aquaman got his own movie, and Flash got his own movie, and that bombed terribly. That movie belongs in the Phantom Zone and should never see the light of day ever again. And Cyborg, you know, unfortunately, there was rumors that he was gonna get his own movie, but unfortunately, that's never gonna happen. And I guess it's definitely not gonna happen. Probably never would have happened if it still were gonna continue because Ray Fisher, I don't know if he's blacklisted from Hollywood or DC, but I mean, he kind of complained about James Gunn and such, so I don't know if Warner Brothers wants anything to do with him anymore. So I don't know. But yeah, you know, the DCU, it was just a mess. You know, they had no leadership. They had random movies coming out, you know, and the full majority of the movies, they all kind of flopped, you know. The only good ones that they had were Man of Steel, the first Wonder Woman, Shazam, and the first Aquaman, and I think that's pretty much about it. I think those are the only good ECU movies that came out. I mean, and others were kind of meh or were terrible movies. You know, Batman v Superman was a terrible movie. Oh yeah, I forgot. The Snyder Cut. Yeah, the Snyder Cut was actually pretty decent. So, the Justice League version, the Joss Whedon version, that one was bad, terrible. You know, Suicide Squad was kind of trash in a way. I mean, there were some things I liked in it, but it wasn't a good movie. I mean, and you know, Black Adam kind of bombed. Wasn't all that great. Shazam for the Gods had some decent moments, but wasn't all that great. Aquaman 2 kind of was meh. Blue Beetle, I did like some things in it, but it was kind of a meh movie. The Flash, yeah, like I said, belongs in the Phantom Zone, should never see the light ever again. No, forget about The Flash. And also Ezra Miller, his relationship with DC is pretty much over now because he's pretty much a menace and he should just go away forever. And Wonder Woman 1984, don't get me started how much of a mess that movie was. So yeah, the DCU only had a few good movies and like the full majority of them like bombed at the box office and just didn't do that extremely well. DC had no leader, you know, like how Marvel has Kevin Feige, you know. They just didn't really know what to do, you know. They wanted to play catch up with Marvel. They wanted to catch up with the MCU and get a slice of their pie, what they've been doing, how they've been making extremely amazing money. And, you know, they just kind of lost sight of what's important. They didn't like establish their universe. They didn't build their universe. They just put out random movies, and the DC even put out other movies not related to the DCU, like you know, the Batman from 2022 and the Joker films. You know, and I don't know if this canceled Batwoman movie or Batwoman movie was Batgirl movie. I don't know if it was connected to DCU, but I don't know. But you know, to all you Snyder fans who missed the Snyderverse and wish, oh, come on, please bring the Snyderverse back. Pretty please. The Australians, guys, we kind of need to move on at this point. You know? You know, it sucks that we're never going to get to see Henry Cavill's Superman ever again. And it does kind of also suck that we're never going to see Ben Affleck's Batman again, or Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, or Jason Momoa's Aquaman. And I don't think anybody's going to miss Ezra Miller's Flash because he wasn't all that great as the Flash. And Ezra Miller, you know, he's, like I said, he's a menace and he needs to go away. And I don't understand how come this dude's not in prison. Like, I know he prefers to refer to himself as they, but honestly, he's a male, okay? He was born a male, and he still is a male. Unless he gets like some kind of unless he gets like some kind of sex change or something, he's still a male. All right, hashtag not the Flash. Grant Gustin, you've always has been, and you always will be the Flash. Remember that. So yeah, it does kind of suck that we're never going to see these versions of the characters ever again, and we're never going to get to see Darkseid in action. That version of the Snyderverse version of Darkseid in action. But maybe there could be a possibility we could see these characters come back, if like James Gunn and them at DC, if they decide to pull like a No Way Home, and like do like a crossover with some of these characters. Like we can see a crossover between James Gunn's DC universe and the Snyderverse. Like we could have David Krugler's, I can't pronounce his last name, or full name, David. His version of Superman meet Henry Cavill's Superman. Or whatever new version of Batman we have, that Batman meet Ben Affleck's Batman, or any of the previous Batmans, Michael Keaton's Batman, or maybe whatever new actress they cast to play Wonder Woman, maybe Kate Beckinsale, or she's probably too old, but maybe have that new version of Wonder Woman meet Gal Gadot's version of Wonder Woman. The possibilities are endless, and since that multiverse movies are pretty much kind of the norm nowadays, because we're seeing a lot of them, and even though I'll be honest, I do love multiverse stories, but it's kind of getting a little redundant. Okay, we can't lie, it's getting redundant and a bit repetitive. But thank God that Spider-Man Brand New Day is not a multiverse story. It's going to have special guests from a lot of Marvel characters, but at least it's not a multiverse story. Thank God for that. But yeah, so we can probably still see the Snyder characters from the Snyderverse reappear like in a crossover, and they could do like some kind of team up movie or a multiverse story, And heck, the Arrowverse actually did do like a multiverse storyline. They had special appearance from Tom Williamson's Superman, and Brandon Routh's Superman, So anything's possible. And also Ezra Miller's Flash appeared in one, like he met Grant Gustin's Flash, and there was that. And I think Michael Keaton was in one. I don't know. I didn't see much of the multiverse, so there is possibilities for Snyderverse to at least make some kind of guest appearance. And while it does suck that we're probably never going to see the Snyderverse's version, the DC Extended Universe's version of Darkseid, see that version in action, because I do admit that version of Darkseid is pretty sick. Yeah, his design and all. But it does suck we never got to see him in action. We only saw Steppenwolf. But, maybe they could bring that version of him back in some shape or form. I don't know. But, it does kind of suck that Snyderverse is no more, but, maybe we could get a multiverse crossover movie or something. Could we? Who knows? I highly doubt it. They could. Crossovers are pretty much the norm now. Deadpool, Wolverine just features some crossover from Marvel characters from other Marvel universes, like, Blade and Elektra. So they did do somewhat of a crossover with the Fox universe, Marvel characters into the MCU. So that was something. So that shows that anything's possible. Yeah. But I know it was that mainly possible. That was only possible because Disney bought Fox. So. But, DC, they still have on the rights to all the DCU. Warner Brothers still own the rights to the DC, to everything DC related, pretty much. So, maybe they could decide to continue the Snyderverse again if they want to, like as his own separate thing. But they probably won't do that because James Gunn's, his universe is the main thing that we're going to be getting right now. But, we could probably see these characters, the Snyderverse characters, come back in some shape or form. Probably not Ezra Miller's Flash, because as Warner Brothers probably wants nothing to do with that menace. And again, he should go to prison. He deserves it. But to all you Snyder fans who missed the Snyderverse, I'm kind of with you guys. I missed the Snyderverse too. But, maybe, James Gunn's his new universe could be good for us. You never know. It could be good for us if we give it a chance. You know? So, what do you guys think? Do you guys miss the Snyderverse? Do you think it should continue? Or do you think we should just focus on James Gunn's new DC universe? You can let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. So yeah, that's it for this video. I think my next video will probably be either I'll talk about I Know What You Did Last Summer, the 2025 movie, why that movie is just a travesty, or I might do a video talking about Tom Holland's Spider-Man and why his version of Spider-Man just doesn't feel like Spider-Man and why he doesn't feel like his own character. One of those two. But that'll be it for this video. Hope you guys like it. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I'll have more videos coming up in the future. See you later, guys. This is Commerce64, signing out. Rest in peace, Snyderverse.